Welcome to the Memory Health Made Easy podcast. How to make lifestyle habit changes easier so you can help prevent memory loss later. With me, David Norris. The starter's gun went and we're off. We're now several months into the year and we're looking back at our best laid intentions around goals and thinking, what have I done? It just feels too hard. Life has gotten in the way. Well, today's show is for you. If you've made the choices around trying to establish new behaviors, to create new routines in life that will help you reduce your risk for memory loss, and you're struggling with them, today's episode is for you. I'm going to go through the 6 facets of how to build successful habits, which leverages the content in the episode conversation I had with Dr. Mel Davies earlier in the year. And I spend some time on the most underrated, undervalued, and often neglected element of habit formation, which is critical in my opinion. And we go through a beautiful exercise with your permission to do that today. I'll also discuss and reveal how just simple changes in a very, very short term have dramatic changes in your body. And I outline what they are. So join me on today's podcast, which is the power of habits and how that can reduce your risk for memory loss. My name is David Norris, and this is the Memory Health Made Easy podcast, and I'm super grateful for you being here. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the show so that you can get latest notifications when a show drops, as well as the opportunity, and with thanks, sharing it with others. If you like the show and you want to get a little bit more context, a little bit more deeper details, then come across to memoryhealthmadeeasy.com and grab the 9 principles for memory health for life. It's a short cheat sheet that I've put together that helps demystify some of the key principles and actions that you need to help start making changes in your life. And this can be just the train tracks that you might be looking for. So come on over, let's get into the podcast. I can't wait to get it. And guess what? You've got me today. So grab a coffee, relax, put the air conditioning on in the car, wherever you are. Let's get into today's show. G'day, this is David Norris, and this is the Memory Health Made Easy podcast, brought to you by memoryhealthmadeeasy.com. Easy to remember, isn't it? Listening to the social media, the news, the latest streaming service about pictures of my country, Australia, you would no doubt appreciate that we've gone through some hard times, some really significant tough times with regards to our fires and the amount of devastation that it's caused to communities and our natural wildlife. It has been certainly as hot as Hades here. In my hometown of Brisbane, we've had a really long, pronounced dry spell, which has been broken by the rain. That's meant that we've been privileged enough to get out in the garden. My children and I, and with my wife, we roll the sleeves up, so to speak, to get into the garden. And we have this mango tree that has been corner of our yard for some time. This beautiful tree is almost the matriarchal position of the garden. But it hasn't borne fruit for about 3.5 to 4 years, standing close to 30 metres tall, probably about 90 years of age. No doubt this tree has witnessed a number of families and experiences in its lifetime. But it hasn't borne any fruit, and this has been a real consternation for my family, especially my daughter, who has got a fang for mangoes. So this is what we did. We planted around it some complementary plants to bring in the bees and the pollinators. We cut it back a little bit to allow a little bit more air into the canopy because it had experienced a bit of a fungal growth. We nurtured the soil. We looked at how our garden was designed around it so that it got the water and could capture the water as best as possible when it rained. Now, 3.5 years later, the tree is in full bloom. You'll see me scampering up there with a painter's plank and to try and reach as many mangoes and fend it off from the flying foxes, the bats and the local possums who enjoy a feast if any of the seeds are indications of how much they're enjoying the fruits of the tree. I guess it's feeding a number of folk around us, is it not? I guess we could look at this beautiful mango tree much like our own situation. And I guess there is hope in all of this. It is never, ever too late to start. And if our mango tree at 90 years of age, who's seen a lot and experienced a lot, can come back from such awkward times, tough times, it can demonstrate that by tending to the things that support it, that help it thrive, is going to see the fruits of its labour. And I really apologise for that dad pun, that dad joke there. No doubt if my children listen to this, they'll be on to me in quick fashion. But I want to point out that wherever you're at, maybe you've experienced mum or dad who've had significant memory changes in their life, whether that is going through to experience of dementia, or they might have had a stroke and it's impacted their ability to think clearly, speak, or perceive their world. And you're committed to doing everything you can do in your powers to prevent that from happening to yourself. Perhaps you're caring for a loved one right now and you're concerned about your own health and want to take actions to support that. Maybe you witnessed a sibling go through some significant changes in their cognitive fitness and you're thinking, oh, this is not going to happen on my watch. Maybe you're just taking good steps for your family, the steps that can impact a generation, your children, your husband, you yourself. Maybe you're showing up here for your clients and learning as much as you can around what you can do to help your clients reduce their risk for memory loss in their lifetime. Perhaps you're just fed up with the merry-go-round of fads and you want a little bit of clarity on what are the right steps, the steps that are backed by evidence, and also hearing the experiences of others to make real changes in their lives. You're curious, you're resolute, you're empowered, you're fearful. Whatever is happening in your life, please reflect on the mango tree that it is never too late. There is always the opportunity. Your body is primed to help you achieve as much as possible, whether it is those baby neurons ready to grow, whether it is your arteries ready to deliver beautiful, rich, oxygenated blood, nutritiously pumped up nutrition delivered to all the aspects of your body to help you correct your experience of illness right now. It is never too late to start. And much like the mango tree, with a bit of tendering, a bit of nurturing, a bit of right interventions, we can get back on that path. And to back this up, I think it's worthwhile pointing out that whilst I have referred to the mango tree, there's some clear evidence. The team out of the Mood and Food Centre here in Melbourne, of which Dr. Amy Lockman is part of, who you would have heard in earlier episodes, they showed that by changing the standard Australian diet, which very much aligns to the standard American diet, or we could call it the SAD diet, has a dramatic impact on our tummy microbiome. By just taking the standard American diet away, we are providing significant opportunity to change in a very short time. The microbiome, the bugs, the tummy bacteria, the flora that are living in there, the viruses and fungi, can change dramatically within a matter of days. There is a sense of improved health, well-being, energy. That is the sense of focus and clarity and lift in our general well-being is available to us. Exercise. In a short amount of time, exercises can improve our sense of well-being through the release of those gorgeous endorphins to the rich oxygenated blood and just changing our sense of endurance over time. Focused work around meditation and tackling stress head on through attentive exercises, we can, within a short period of time, make some changes. It is never too late to start. But where do we get unstuck with these changes? Well, in my episode with Dr. Mel, we touched on some behavioural strategies to support new behaviours, things that are going to help us stay on track. And at this time of recording, which is now coming towards the end of January in 2020, we are or have committed potentially to some new behaviours in life. We're ready, we're keen, but right now, for many of us, we might be struggling. And if that's your position, that is okay. So today's episode, I just wanted to touch on and give you a few tools that I think are going to help give you that sense of strength, give you that sense of purpose about why you're choosing to do the things you are doing, why this new behavior, these new behaviors for improving your health and well-being to reduce your risk for memory loss in life are important for you. Don't get me wrong, goals are awesome, but sometimes we set the bar so high, so heroically massive, that it becomes almost Herculean efforts required to climb a goal, Mount Everest. We have the best laid intentions at the beginning of the year. I will do this. I will lose X amount of kilos or pounds. I will run this marathon. I will perform X to X ability. All of which appear to be potentially far-reaching and difficult but noble endeavours. These big, lofty, large, massive, huge, often described as hairy, but that just doesn't sound right, does it? These goals often are set to help nudge us in the right direction. But when we fall off the wagon, when we fall short, when we are wanting to move from where we are now to the next destination, much like island hopping, here we are on this island and I want to move to the next island. But when we get stuck and struggle, we'll quickly return back to that island of familiarity, that place of security, that place of, this is just normal mode for me. And hey, I gave it a shot. I'll tell myself, I gave this a shot, but it just wasn't the right for me. It just didn't fit. We're leaving too much beautiful life on the table. We're depriving ourselves of the opportunity to live fully and also to be present and accountable and interacting with our wonderful friends and family around us. And without our beautiful brain working, our cognitive fitness firing on all its cylinders, we are missing out on our experience of the world. So our goals really help us get there because it helps us think about our behaviours. If we didn't have these goals, I guess it'd be much like going for a bushwalk, a trekking guide, in the mountains under dark conditions without a torch. The torch is helping us get there from step to step, but we know we need to get up to that hut, that pass. I remember many years ago going on this wonderful walk with my wife, and we had been advised before taking this walk in New Zealand that changes and conditions can happen. That when we trekked up this mountain that had a deluge of rain and it was slippery conditions, but we had the right rain protective equipment to keep us comfortable, dry. We broke on through the beautiful forest into this sort of tussocky grassland. And it was gorgeous. We could see for miles and miles around, and we kept on trekking. Then all of a sudden these beautiful snowflakes started to fall. And from one fall to another, it just built up until the point we were in a blizzard-like condition where our vision from 1 meter to the next was pretty low. In fact, they had these fluorescent markers on the path every 2 meters, and our visibility was down to about 2.5 to 3 meters. So we could just make out those markers. But we got to our destination, our goal in the end, which was this hut with a gorgeous roaring fire, and everything became so much easier and more comfortable at that point. But I guess in reflecting on that experience of walking and having these conditions buffet us and these unpredictable moments occur, that at times we need to narrow our vision and take step by step in a very methodical, regular fashion. And this appears to be one of the real ingredients with regards to achieving new habits. When we want to move from behavior A, today, this is where I am, to my new desired behavior, which is routine in life. There's no thinking. And it is that step-by-step, repetitive, methodical, metronome-like activity that is going to help embed this new behavior, this new experience. But goals, the big lofty goal, made that a reality for us. Now, you're probably saying, but Dave, look, it can't be too hard to eat nutritiously every day of the week. And I put that up there that, 7 days a week, I'm going to eat beautiful food. It sounds great. I'm doing it. But then once the old habits sneak in, the little snacks here and there, or hey, blow it, I'm just doing this for a couple of days now. And all of a sudden we've undermining our commitment. We've undermined ourselves. We're beating ourselves up with guilt, and that leads to shame. And shame is such a powerful white ant-like emotional quality. It just erodes our sense of purpose, our sense of self, our sense of strength to undertake these things that offer challenge for us that are hard. Let's not beat about the bush here. These things can be hard. But committing to it, taking repetitive action, setting up systems for success are what makes the hard grind, the difficult days, the dark days, the challenging blizzard-like circumstances, if I was to use the trekking analogy. These moments add up to when new habits are in. We can deal with anything, guys. We can. And you are never, ever too late, too old to start. Because at the end of the day, what we're really wanting is new behaviors transforming into new habits. The unconsciously behaving being that takes all this wonderful health information and puts it into motion, that we are living as healthy and well as possible to reduce our risk for memory loss. Wow, a lot of stuff in this episode. Be right back into it. I want to share with you a little bit about memoryhealthmadeeasy.com and what you can find over there. Programs, resources, and community, all with one goal: to help stop avoidable memory loss. Here's a great place to start. The Memory Health Checkup shows you how to identify your personal risks and also set a map and course about what to do about them. The Memory Health Fast Masterclass gets you out of the gates quickly around applying the 9 principles for memory health for life. Want to work out your brain? Improve your brain performance with How to Train Your Brain. It's a 30-day brain optimizing program. And of course, we've got our flagship community, which is all about support, and you can ask me any question, where I'm your memory health coach to guide, support, and cheer you through the steps to achieve memory health. Come on over to memoryhealthmadeeasy.com/products where you can find out more. Now let's get back to today's episode. So to help us move forward with building habits, to take this new goal around a new behavior and to make it happen, I'm going to refer to the work of Dr. David Neal. And he has the 6 principles for underlying habit strategies. And first up, and I think one of the most important things that we should have in place, is to have a supportive environment. The environments where the new behaviors are immediately and constantly available. So if we're going to decide to get up and go for a run every morning or walk, or we're going to start with exercise as a new goal, then what we would need to do is then set up the environment to support that. That is, the environment socially with my partner to, hey, these are my goals. This is what I want to achieve. Make it visible, make it accountable. That's one part of the environment. The other is the physical environment. Having the shoes, clothes, everything ready to go. Easy, slip into it, make sure. And that kind of sits next to, I guess, a leveraging component, which is around triggers. But we are building these things in place. There might be also another social thing that we're doing it with somebody else. So we're having that sort of supportive context as well. What I would encourage folk to also think about is the number 2 point is about we leveraging context, which is let's piggyback things that are happening already. And to take the analogy of the run further, what we can do here is that, let's say the first thing I do in the morning is I get up, go to the bathroom and do my morning routine. Well, guess what? In the bathroom are my shoes, my clothes, everything to get out the door, my watch if I want to use it. But look, we can keep it really simple, guys. We can make sure that this is just as easy as possible. And I think that's another important point around our environment and leveraging context is let's not overcomplicate it. Let's start with some very simple things. And that comes into point number 3. Eliminate the friction, eliminate the resistance. Let's eliminate the amount of choices that we might need to do. Oh, I might do that loop or this loop. Let's make a decision up front about, for the next 30 days, we're going to be doing the 2-kilometer route, the 2-mile route, the round the block 3 times. And that's where I'm going to start. Let's take the choice out of it. And the number of steps that, I've got to get my shoes at the front door and I've got to get the dog out and I've got to do this and I've got to do that and I've got to check my email. We are taking a big old samurai sword to this guy and filleting it right back to the bare bones essentials so that we have no friction, that it is as easy as possible. That we've got the cues in place that, as I mentioned earlier, that things that are cueing are the things that can trigger the behavior, but the cue is also to reward my behavior. Maybe we've got a calendar marked up that we're ticking off every 5 days that I'm going to reward myself. Now, what I would suggest is that when we think about the reward systems in place, that these reward systems go in some way to support the behavior. Maybe it is the reward that after running for or moving for the next 7 days, that I set up and catch up with my friends in the park, and we do it in the park and catch up for a coffee later, for example. So we can build social cues. The world is your oyster there. For example, you might say, oh, I've got really old shoes. You don't need new shoes to start. Let's just get out and do it. But if you do it for 40 days, if you get out there and have a crack and just put yourself in the zone, maybe it is the 40th run you go, hey man, you deserve this. Here are some new shoes. Some new shoes to go, I'm doing this. And part of that new shoes may be cementing that, hey, I am an exerciser. I am somebody who takes this seriously. I am out here doing this. And this is part of what I'm after. And number 5 on the list, so it's about encouraging practice and that we are repetitively doing this. So having a goal that is, or a behavior, that we want to make habit that happens only once a week is going to be a lot harder than doing something that happens daily, or every second daily, that is anchored against those daily ritual cues. And this is the big gap, guys, is that when we are trying to build a new habit and we are not getting in there for as consistency or repetitive as possible, we are leaving a lot of opportunity on the table. We're trying to, maybe we've made some choices about stuffing the goal sock like the Christmas stocking. We've stuffed the sock so full of other goals that we just can't get consistency against one. And I think this is a really important point that I often talk about, is that we start with one. Starting with one gives you focus, helps keep it simple. And you know what? You can win with one. Winning is so good for the soul. That once we've got some runs on the board, so to speak, that we can put it in the bank of our esteem. We are building up our sense of capacity, of can-do, our sense of self, that this is going to translate into, you know what, I'm ready for the second or more challenging next step. And the last point, and most overlooked, and I think critical, is looking at how it promotes meaning and motivation. I've touched on it there around one. But meaning making around our habits, that it is leveraging this context of myself into my greater sense of who I want to be, is critical and often overlooked. Because if you pull out any book or you've gone to any well-meaning health seminar, they would have hit you with the SMART goals between the eyes. SMART being specific, measurable, action, realistic, and on a time basis. So the SMART goal is a formula that's been rolling around for a long time around setting goals, but that talks about how we set a goal as opposed to getting in the nitty-gritty of daily actions. And daily habits are where it matters, and that's that repetitive element that I was talking about earlier. But the meaning, the connection with purpose about why am I turning up for myself in this matter? Maybe my goal gets me there in some form or fashion, but more often than not, we've got sometimes junk goals, and that's good. It crowbars us out of bed and might get us moving a little bit, but what's our bigger purpose? What's our bigger sense of meaning in all of this? And why am I turning up for myself? And this becomes especially a powerful tool when we're having those dark days, those blizzard-like conditions about, hey, it's too hard, I think I need to turn back and go back to where I was, as opposed to keep moving forward to the next step, because my why really matters. And we don't often do a lot of work there. So I thought I'd do a quick purpose exercise with you if you're interested. So I'm going to take you through a little purpose exercise that you may have heard before or you might not have. I've personally done this myself, and it is something I do quite regularly with folk in my life and my clients as well. So, are you interested? If so, let's do a little exercise around finding purpose. So, before we start, I just want your permission to take this next step. This next step is around being open to listening, not being judgmental. I want to take that cap off and put that over the side. Being judgmental is helpful, but in this context, just let's put that aside for this time period that we're going to set aside. I would give yourself anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes, but sometimes having a shorter time frame and doing this exercise means that it gives you a constraint around trying to get it out. This is an exercise that you might come back to again and do it again, because purpose is something that'll bubble up, it'll sit, it'll marinate, it might take time for it to hear its message. So perfection is not required. If you're anything like me, something I really struggle with at times of just putting the perfectionist trait down. But perfection is not required. All I ask for is curiosity, being non-judgmental with yourself, and an openness. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. Imagine you're at your funeral. Oh, Dave, hang on. For the love of all things nutritious, Dave, you said it was going to be easy. Well, bear with me, because I think when we try and figure this out, this is a lovely exercise, a powerful exercise if you sit with it. So, you're at your funeral. You've passed away. You're in that form of being present and witnessing what's being said. There is a loved one, a family member that has stood up, or maybe it's a really close friend, your partner, and they've stood up and they've described your life. They've described the qualities of your life and the person you are. What would they say? Give yourself a couple of minutes here and let it flow out. Don't worry about grammatics. Just get it out. What did they say? Quickly, unfettered. Don't filter. Just put it down on paper. Maybe you might speak it out in dictaphone, but get it out. And next up, some colleagues, some professional colleagues, people that you work with, have known in your work world. Stand up. If you're not working and you've been, somebody who's made choices about their family, maybe it's about your community, people that you connect with, they stand up and they talk about the legacy, the impact, the transformation they've had in their lives as a result of being in touch with you, and what was it that they said. Give yourself some time to jot this down. Let it flow. Put it down on paper. Just get it out. Unfettered. Don't hold back. Just let it come. And lastly, there is somebody, a stranger, somebody who doesn't know you but has heard about you. And they came just to pay homage. And if they had the time and the opportunity to speak, what would they say? What would you hope somebody on the periphery who's heard your story, what would they say? Let it come out. Let it flow. Now, this exercise is a powerful exercise as it's giving you a sense of what is it? What is the most important thing for me? This might be really hard if you're not sat in this position for a while, and even the concept of thinking about one's mortality at that point in life is something we don't often think about as a culture, let alone acknowledge that it's going to happen to us one day. But what were those things? How can your lifestyle changes be linked to some of those qualities? If you are going to turn up for your loved one, if you're going to turn up for your colleagues, if you're going to be that person that the stranger hears of, if you're going to assume that person in your life, and you're going to live that fully and be present in all of that richness that you've just articulated, what are the changes? What are the daily habits that need to be in place to make that happen? If you've listened to our shows so far, you would have got a good flavouring that there is a change around our food. exercise, sleep, nutrition, our connections with others, our sense of doing work that matters, our continual exploration of lifelong learning. These are the things that are going to add up to help reduce our risk for memory loss later. It might be about doing some internal work about our experience of trauma, because we know that trauma has strong links to depression, anxiety, and mental health, to behaviors in our lifestyle. It may mean that we are holding things closer and looking closely at those choices that we're making in our lives. So where is all this going to? Well, my point is this. It is never, ever too late to start. If you're going to curate your own tree of life about becoming and growing into that person that you want to be, that you desire to be, at the end of your life, that you are still bearing those beautiful fruits that is going to carry on in a legacy way. If you're going to achieve that vision, what is it that you need to do today to cultivate that being you want to be tomorrow? And it is the small repetitive steps. I've gone through the 6 steps of habit formation that comes from the work of Dr. David Neal. And it's a nice little framework, but I think we've spent some good amount of time of talking about those key attributes. Simply, we could distill it down, much like panning for the gold, around what are my triggers, make it simple, do it repetitively, make it rewarding, and link it to something about my why, your why, the reason for, the raison d'etre. Now, that's my very bad French accent, but you appreciate that this is linking it to making sure that you can get through those tough times. This has been an interesting episode for me today of just being on the mic and having a conversation with you wherever you're at. If you've liked this show, if you like this conversation, would like more of it, please let me know in the comments or on Twitter or any social media that you're hearing this at. Come over to memoryhealthmadeeasy.com to grab the 9 principles for memory health for life. That's easy for me to say. But come on over, because it just distills down some of those key areas to focus on. I am super appreciative of your attention, and I want to thank you for turning up today. If you've liked it, please like the show. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. And take a screenshot where you're at. Make a comment on social media, because liking, sharing it, discussing it is just one way that you're compounding the information you've learned today. But also, you're going and taking the steps to helping us reach more, to create more and serve more folk about how they can help reduce their risk for memory loss in their lifetime. I'm David Norris, and it has been my absolute pleasure in having this conversation today and bringing this to you. It is something that is obviously very close to my heart about the internal work that we need to do to get the gains. So until next time, let's stay sharp and let's be memory health smart. Bye for now. So guys, today we've covered off some real key lifestyle factors that are going to add a ton of value to your overall health and well-being. The payoff is to stay sharp for life, to have abundance and energy, and to live life fiercely on your terms. But remember this, that success takes time. Building these habits into your life takes time. These habits that make you into the gorgeous human being that you will be and are will take time. Instead of fighting with, I've got to do everything right now, and meeting that urgency of life has to happen today or tomorrow, instead let's flip this perspective on its head and say, let's play the long game. Be patient. Let's go at a really comfortable pace and make this happen for us. As you see, if we just add one key thing and then layer it on top of another and then another, we're going to get compounding health interest for life. And if you're somebody who's in the age of 40 to 50 years of age, the chances are you're going to be living up to close to 90 to 100 years of age if we do these simple things regularly, consistently, turning up for ourselves. You've perhaps touched on the big why, your why. Why am I doing this? As the key fire, the flame, the orientating tool, a helpful navigational compass to keep you moving in the direction of north. North being where you want to be. I hope this has been of help today. The show opened with our situation here in Australia being the significant fires. That was at the time of the recording. As I go to publish this, our country is now, as many of other communities across the world right now, are facing the coronavirus pandemic. And it has meant a real significant change. What a wonderful place to start layering down new habits. I look forward to hearing what you do in your life. Come across to Memory Health Made Easy, episode 17. Grab our free resources that are being put together especially for this particular show. Please leave a comment over here at Memory Health Made Easy in episode 17, as I'd love to find out what you're doing and what your goals are and how you're trying to move to your north. Thanks so much for listening. I'm Dave Norris. You're awesome. Take care and keep growing a gorgeous, beautiful brain for life. If you really enjoyed today's conversation and if you enjoyed other conversations on the podcast, Memory Health Made Easy, come on over. And I'm super excited to announce, ready, drum roll. That's right, I've got a Facebook group, Memory Health Warriors. A Memory Health Warrior is somebody who wants to turn up for themselves, their family, and their community, to have abundant energy and to play life fiercely so that we can have a beautiful brain for life, for Memory Health for Life. The tribe's mission is simple. We're going to achieve 1 million beautiful brains, healthy, gorgeous brains, so that we can have memory health for life. And it's for folk who want to go a bit deeper with the content around the stuff that we go through here on this podcast. So join me over on Facebook at Memory Health Warriors. That's right, plural, and come and see what it's all about. Until next time, I'm your host, Dave Norris, and this is the Memory Health Made Easy podcast. Thanks for listening. The purpose of Memory Health Made Easy podcast is to educate and to inform. It is no substitute for professional care by a doctor or qualified professional. This podcast is provided on the understanding that it does not constitute medical or personal professional advice or services. Instead, we would encourage you to discuss your options with a healthcare provider who specializes in your particular needs.